Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, if you didn't know, we are definitely at war with the financial banking system, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to prove it to you today. It's going to be right in your face. You can't turn away from it. You wouldn't want to turn away from it. And we also got crypto as a presidential campaign issue. This is getting good. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. And I just want to say, welcome back. Yeah. Welcome back to DAI on X, and welcome back to Meta Lawman, who's back this morning as well. Make sure you're following both of them. We know the GOAT, XRP influencer, digital asset investor, is back in full force, as it should be. But I tell you, I will say this, and I do mean every bit of this, ladies and gentlemen. X is not a free speech platform. They took him off they silenced him without warning or reason. And when they brought him back, the things that they told him added up to 0 cents when it came to understanding why he was taken off to begin with. No explanation made any rational sense whatsoever at why he was taken off. So it pretty much tells me he was targeted for some reason or another. And that means we don't have a free speech platform. That also means that I will have a problem using X as a banking platform until they rectify the situation. I also have a problem growing my audience on X because they can silence me at any time without reason, which is why we are going into the Freedom Zone a little later today. And you're going to want to be inside the Freedom Zone because we're going to talk about the conditioning that's taking place from the World Economic Forum, and it's starting in New York, and you're going to want to see it. We're talking about smart cities, the smart cities they refer to as 15-minute cities, and how that soft conditioning is taking place. Now let's get started here. $1.66 trillion market cap. We're off by 0.5%, 43,200 plus for Bitcoin, 2,200 plus for Ethereum right now. Tether market cap is 90.4 billion plus. I tell you right now, that is an all-time high, I'm pretty sure. XRP, 63 cents, up 2% in the 24-hour, up 4.9 on a 7-day, ranging price between 62 and 65 cents. So there's a bit of movement going on today. We'll keep an eye on it. But I tell you what, I would encourage you to get your ducks in a row, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we got some news that's coming out a little later today, in just a few hours from now, from Uphold. And if you look, don't forget, Ripple and Uphold recently partnered. And don't forget that Uphold is working on lots of different things they're bringing to the platform. And later today, you're about to find out exactly what that is. And I encourage you to go to Link2. All you got to do is sign up, register, and get started today, like the other 500,000 plus registered users have done. And get your positions, because I tell you, one of these days, this window's going to close, and then I'm going to start getting the emails and the messages where everybody's like, man, I wish I had got an opportunity to do it. Now is the time. Click the link to my sponsor, Link2, and make it happen for yourself. Let's look at this right here. Pretty powerful moment right here. This is Vivek Ramaswamy, I believe is how you say his name here, presidential candidate. And listen to this exchange about how he talks about government agencies, bureaucrats, really making decision in front of Congress. Take a listen to this. And crypto is the conversation.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you've praised cryptocurrency like Bitcoin as an opt-out from our, quote, broken financial architecture, and you oppose efforts to regulate it. The head of the largest international crypto exchange just pleaded guilty to allowing his platform to launder money for terrorists, including Hamas. You say your cryptocurrency plan will, quote, ensure economic freedom for Americans, end quote. Won't it also ensure economic freedom for fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists?
Oh, boy.
Look, fraudsters, criminals, and terrorists have been defrauding people for a long time. Our regulations need to catch up with the current moment. The fact that SBF was able to do what he did at FTX shows that whatever they have as the current framework isn't working. And I think it is nothing short of embarrassing that Gary Gensler, the current leader of the SEC, in front of Congress, could not even say whether Ethereum counted as a regulated security or not. And so I think that this is just another example of the administrative state gone too far. Here's the dirty little secret in American politics today. The people who we elect to run the government are not the ones who are even actually running the government.
Hello.
It is the bureaucrats in those three-letter agencies.
There you have it. There's some truth-telling going on right there now, isn't it? Now take a listen to this as they cover Basel III Endgame. Now we know Basel III is really talking about the financial system and where all of this is going and the weight of the global economy. Take a listen to this clip as it moves into Jamie Dimon.
Hillary, what are the business leaders telling Congress?
Hi, Lydia. Well, all 7 bank CEOs that were here in front of lawmakers today raised their hands when asked if raising capital requirements would end up hurting everyday Americans. The new changes known as Basel III Endgame would change capital requirements for financial institutions. But all 7 CEOs raised their hands when asked if changing these rules would hurt first-time home buyers, people saving for retirement, farmers and ranchers, and small business owners. The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank earlier this year raised attention to the possible need for more regulations, but Bank of America's CEO Brian Moynihan says Basel III would not have prevented that from happening.
Silicon Valley didn't threaten the U.S. economy. It could have been resolved, and it was resolved.
Well, why did the president, act so swiftly if there wasn't such a concern?
You'd have to ask the people. We didn't think that all that could have been resolved differently.
Wall Street leaders also got a stern talking to from Republican from Ohio, Senator J.D. Vance, who scolded them for meddling in politics, from releasing statements about the Georgia voter ID law or making net zero climate pledges.
Whether we achieve net zero and when we achieve net zero is a debate for the elected representatives of the American people. If you guys are going to use the financial power that you've accumulated to go to war against the values of our voters, impoverish our constituents who rely on cheap energy, and destroy the jobs of people who work in the energy sector, why should we listen to you when you come and ask us for a tax break or for reasonable regulations?
Crypto was also a big topic of this hearing today. Senator Warren pressed a lot of these CEOs about the role of crypto and how it's utilized by terrorist organizations. Jamie Dimon said that he would close down crypto if he was the government. Of course, these banks have a vested interest in trying to close down crypto, because then that would mean more money would be funneling through their institutions. Lydia?
Yeah.
Oh, and here's Senator Elizabeth Warren setting up the softball and setting the stage for Jamie Dimon to come in and tell everybody about the bad crypto that exists. Take a listen.
Today's terrorists have a new way to get around the Bank Secrecy Act, cryptocurrency. Last year, an estimated $20 billion in illicit crypto transactions funded every kind of dangerous criminal.
And how many dollars, actual U.S. dollars, were used for illicit acts or any other bad actors of the world? Elizabeth? How many? Right? Just crypto, I guess.
North Korea has funded at least half its missile program, including nuclear weapons, using the proceeds of crypto crime. And Israeli officials have confirmed that Hamas received millions of dollars through crypto transactions, including, quote, large sums from Iran.
And there's the setup, so we can bring Jamie Dimon in to deliver it like this.
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto, Bitcoin, etc. He pointed out the only true use case for it is criminals, drug traffickers, anti-money laundering, tax avoidance, and that is a use case because it is somewhat anonymous, not fully, and because you can move money instantaneously, and because it doesn't go through, as you mentioned, all these systems have built up over many years, know your customers, sanctions, OFAC, they can get bypass all of that. If I was the government, I'd close it down.
Okay.
There's the setup right there. If I was the government, I'd close it down. Yeah. You know, when he's first talking about illicit activity and all this stuff leading up to it, I'm thinking, is he talking about crypto or the inside bowels of JP Morgan itself, right? I mean, this is a company, an investment bank that has been caught for manipulating the U.S. Treasuries market, the silver market, right? There is no level to the corruption inside his own institution. So if anybody should know about it, I guess it should be Jamie Dimon. He should know about it, right? Well, this is the fight. Listen to this, because it's a great clip here from Sam Lyman, and I want you to hear how he lays it down, how Elizabeth Warren is preparing the soil for central bank digital currencies here, for the financial system to be the winner, for the government to be the controller. Take a listen to this clip.
Why does she hate Bitcoin? Because it's the antithesis of a central bank digital currency. And that's her long-term goal, is to implement a CBDC over time. But in order to prepare the soil for that, she has to make that soil radioactive for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And that's what she's aiming to do with her AML bill. This bill essentially would make it practically illegal for, you know, a teenager mining Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency in his mom's basement. He would have to comply with the same regulatory burdens that a bank like Goldman Sachs has to do. In other words, it would be impossible, right? It would make it illegal to practically touch cryptocurrency or Bitcoin in the United States. But that's by design. Elizabeth Warren intends to do that because if she can get regulations in place that make it impossible to do anything Bitcoin related in the US, she knows she'll drive innovation offshore, and that essentially prepares the way for a CBDC, which is what I believe she's been trying to do this whole time.
I think that is so spot on right there. I think it's exactly what the goal is, right? And then we need to remember that while JP Morgan is telling all of it, if I was the government, I'd get rid of all of it. I'd ban it all. Well, this is why.
Talking very specifically about JP Morgan coin itself, if you look from left to right, what are some of the benefits that our clients are actually able to get from using JP Morgan coin? So we allow for 24/7 real-time transfers across borders. What it means is that if you have clients in Singapore, they are able to transact, they are able to move funds to New York any time of the day, and it will take place almost instantly. This is very useful because traditionally or conventionally, you know, before we have this idea of 24/7 real-time cross-border payments, what typically happens is that there is very little overlaps in operating hour between Singapore and New York. So in many situations, if you are looking at cross-border payments, it's typically at least a T+1. What it means is that from a treasury perspective, you need to do forecasting, you need to move funds ahead in anticipation of your actual needs. Now, once you're able to move funds any time of the day, you actually do away with the whole idea of forecasting because funds are available anytime. If I need funds in Singapore, I draw it from my account in US, in New York, in London. I can move funds anywhere. I do away with forecasting altogether. I do away with the need to pre-fund my accounts in all the different locations in anticipation of needs that may or may not happen.
Which is exactly what XRP can do and Ripple the company through RippleNet, on-demand liquidity, and the rest of it, right? So here what we know is the obvious truth, just like Chad Steingraber says here. Shout out to Chad. And here's JP Morgan giving a presentation on how they use crypto, the JPM coin, to eliminate pre-funding Nostro-Vostro accounts, just like it's done with XRP, right? Dimon's company is either going rogue under his nose or he's a big fat liar, right? And the reality is exactly that. It looks like to me when you now understand that clip and you see JP Morgan saying here, if I was the government, I'd just get rid of all of it. All of it except the JPM coin. Isn't that right? Yeah, I think that is right. Because here's where the real problem is. The real problem is exactly the way Brian Brooks says it. The banks see a bullseye on their back. They understand what's coming, and banks realize this better than anybody, that they are not innovators, they're bankers. And that's what scares them. This technology works, and they want to demonize it as much as possible and make the road forward for themselves and not the actual tech. Take a listen to this clip.
Cryptocurrency does not seek to replace currency.
Exactly.
It's a bad name. Cryptocurrency seeks to replace banking. The core things that banks have done since the 1300s, those are going to go away, 100%. And let's just be clear what I mean by that. The reason that we even have banks originated in Italy around the year like 1340, all right? And the reason they originated was because of a set of accounting advances that allowed banks to serve as trusted intermediaries between parties that owed each other money. Before that, literally, I would write you a note and I would promise to pay you money, and you'd put the note in your pocket and you'd see if anybody else would take the note. You know, that's why we refer to discounting notes. And then banks arose, and it was like, you no longer need to do that. We'll take care of it for you, but you're going to have to pay us to do that. That function of needing a trusted intermediary to maintain ledgers of account to figure out, do I owe Brooks money or does Brooks owe me money? It turns out that function no longer has to be done by human beings. The same way we don't need postal clerks anymore. I can send you an email for free and it's instant, and that's just the end of the post office. Sorry, but it just is. That function will go away. What's going to be left for banks is the high value add services, you know, structured finance, investment advisory, you know, all of the things that make a dynamic economy function. We still need people to do that. There's a lot of creativity going on in finance. But the core of banking, the base of the pyramid, the thing that drives most of their revenue, doesn't need to exist. And that's why I say, and I was saying to one of the organizers even before we stood up on this panel, cryptocurrency does not seek to replace currency. It's a bad name. Cryptocurrency seeks to replace banking. Just if you take nothing from this panel but that's what you need to understand.
You just, you know, again, you know, nailed it, right? I mean, this is crypto versus the banking world. They are scared to death, and they're trying to do everything they can because they know that they're the incumbents and they have the power and the ear of the regulators and the government and Congress, right? And they want to do everything they can to get it done their way that suits them best. Now, I hope all of you will join us in the Freedom Zone. Digperspectives.com. I'm telling you, this is what you're going to want to know about. This is how it starts. The conditioning for 15-minute cities, and it's not starting somewhere else in the world. It's starting in New York. Click the button below underneath the video. Join us, digperspectives.com, and click Freedom Zone and come inside. You're going to want to know the real story, not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.